You know that feeling, right? Dreaming of a new car. It's exciting. The smell, the features, maybe finally getting something comfortable, good value.
Absolutely. But then you start looking and suddenly it's overwhelming, especially if it's your first big car purchase or you're moving up a class. So many questions.
Exactly. And that's why today we're doing a deep dive into one that catches a lot of eyes initially, the DFSK Glory 560.
Yeah, on paper, it looks like a really attractive option. Seems to tick a lot of boxes.
But like anything, the real story comes out over time, doesn't it? Our mission today is to cut through that marketing gloss.
We want to give you, especially if you're thinking about buying one but aren't maybe a total car nerd, a really clear, honest picture of what to expect. The good, and maybe more importantly, the not so good.
And we've dug deep for this. We're talking insights from actual owners, people who've driven tens of thousands of kilometers, taken it on serious Indonesian road trips, plus some solid technical comparisons.
These aren't just spec sheets. This is lived experience. It shows the car's real character.
Right. And we'll break down any jargon. If we say something technical, we'll explain it. No getting lost in tech speak.
The goal is you walk away with those aha moments, understanding the key things about the Glory 560, both its strong points and, let's be honest, the areas where it might let you down. We'll definitely be spending some time on those potential pitfalls.
Okay, so let's start with the appeal. What makes the Glory 560 so tempting right off the bat? What draws people in?
Well, the biggest draw, initially at least, has to be the price. Its value proposition.
Ah, the sticker price.
Yeah, when it launched, it was around, 250 million IDR. For what you seem to be getting specification-wise, that looked like a fantastic deal compared to rivals.
It made it seem like a really strong contender.
Definitely. And that feeling of getting, more for your money, it carries through to the inside.
Right, the comfort aspect, we hear that a lot. People say it's very comfortable, especially if they're upgrading from something older or smaller, like an Avanza.
We even heard from one owner who drove Bali to Bandung, that's a serious haul, and said they weren't fatigued. That says something.
Wow, and it's roomy, right? A 7-seater.
Yep, 7-seater capability. And a neat feature is the rear seats fold completely flat, like properly flat.
Loads of cargo space.
Huge cargo space. Or, as some owners discovered, you can actually sleep back there, kind of like a mini camper van for quick stops. Plus, decent legroom in the second row.
And the materials. Does it feel cheap inside?
Surprisingly, no. You get soft-touch materials on the dash and armrests, which gives it a more premium feel than you might expect at this price point.
Another seats, too.
Leatherette. So synthetic leather, let's be clear. But yeah, it adds to the look. And the sound system is apparently pretty good for this class of car.
Okay, features. What stands out?
Well, it's got an electronic parking brake, an EPB with auto hold.
Okay, EPB auto hold. Break that down for us. What's the benefit?
So the EPB replaces the old handbrake lever with just a button. It's electronic. Auto hold is the really useful bit, especially in traffic. When you stop, it keeps the brakes applied automatically, even if you take your foot off the pedal.
So no more constantly holding the brake in stop-start traffic or on hills.
Exactly. Your foot gets a rest. It makes city driving way less tiring. It just releases when you press the accelerator.
That sounds genuinely useful. Any other modern touches inside?
Some trims have a flat-bottom steering wheel. You see those in sportier cars sometimes. The bottom edge is flat, supposedly for a bit more legroom, but mostly it just looks cool.
And the infotainment, the screen.
It's an 8-inch unit, does navigation, phone mirroring, and apparently you can get Apple CarPlay running with an adapter. Someone even mentioned it has unique features like prayer times based on your location.
Interesting. Okay, so the interior feels pretty well-equipped and comfortable for the money. How about the outside look and the basic mechanics like brakes?
The exterior design is often called sporty or out of the box. People seem to like the rear pillar design particularly. And importantly, for stopping power, it has disc brakes all around front and rear.
Disc brakes. That's better than the older drum brakes, right?
Generally, yes. Disc brakes use calipers to squeeze pads onto a spinning disc or rotor. They usually offer better stopping power and handle heat better, especially during heavy braking, compared to older drum brake systems you might still find on the rear wheels of some competitors.
Good to know. Now, under the hood, engines. What are the options?
There's a 1.8-liter non-turbo version, which owners say has, okay power. Nothing amazing, but adequate.
And the other option, the one people talk about more.
That's the 1.5-liter turbo engine paired with a CVT.
CVT. Continuously variable transmission. How does that feel? Smooth?
Very smooth, apparently. That's the benefit of a CVT, no jerky gear changes like a traditional automatic. It just seamlessly finds the right ratio. It makes acceleration feel smoother.
And performance, especially on hills. Because there have been some, let's say, rumors about DFSK vehicles struggling on inclines, maybe more related to the Glory 580.
Right, those rumors often get mixed up, but based on owner reports for the 560, it seems to handle challenging inclines Tanjakan surprisingly well.
Really? So it's not afraid of a steep climb?
Doesn't seem like it. We've heard reports of it tackling tough spots like Kintamani, Gentong, ruts around Dieng, Papandayan, pretty demanding terrains. Owners seem quite pleased with its climbing ability.
Okay. And stability at speed.
Also seems pretty good. People mention driving it up to 140 kilometers without feeling excessive vibration or noise, which suggests a decent chassis underneath.
All right, so let's recap the pro side. It's got that initial value, it's comfortable, spacious, has some nice modern features like the EPB, decent tech, all-round disc brakes, and surprisingly capable performance, even uphill. It really does sound like a great package on the surface.
It really does. You can see why people are drawn to it, but, and this is a big but, the ownership experience over time reveals a different side of the story. This is where we need to get practical and talk about the downsides of things that might genuinely disappoint you.
Let's get into it. Where does the shine start to wear off? What's the biggest financial hit?
Depreciation. It's steep. Really steep. This is probably the single biggest financial drawback.
How steep are we talking?
We saw reports like one owner with a 2020 model bought for around 250 million IDR. Just 2 years later, the market value had dropped to maybe 150 to 170 million. That's a potential loss of almost 100 million IDR.
Wow. Nearly 100 million in 2 years. That's brutal. That significantly impacts the total cost of owning the car.
It absolutely does. It's something you have to factor in if you're thinking long-term. It's partly brand perception, partly market dynamics for these newer brands in the used market.
Okay, so massive depreciation is point number one. What about the car itself? Does it hold up well over time? Reliability?
This is another area where owner experiences raise some flags. Long-term durability, especially of certain components, the AC system, for example.
The air conditioning. Crucial in our climate. What's the issue?
It seems to be a recurring theme. One owner had an AC blower fail just 3 months in, under 1,000 kilometers. Okay, warranty covered it then. But another owner, after 5 years and 85,000 kilometers, had to replace the AC evaporator out of warranty and the compressor under warranty.
So multiple AC components potentially failing over time. That sounds expensive once the warranty is up.
Exactly. It suggests maybe a weakness in those parts. And it's not just the AC. The suspension and undercarriage components also seem prone to wear.
Suspension? Like shock absorbers.
Yeah, owners report needing to fix or replace things like shock absorbers after maybe 2 years, or somewhere between 70,000 and 150,000 kilometers. Shock absorbers, just to clarify, are what dampen the bumps and keep the ride smooth. Worn shocks mean a bouncy, uncomfortable ride.
And you mentioned something about the manual version too.
Yes, persistent noise from the clutch plate even after it was replaced. The clutch plate is what connects the engine to the gearbox in a manual car. That kind of ongoing noise issue after a repair is really frustrating.
Definitely not something you want to deal with. Any other potential component failures?
There was a report of a radiator fan needing replacement due to overheating. Again, it was covered by the 7-year warranty in that case, which is good, but it's another potential point of failure. The radiator fan is vital for keeping the engine cool.
Okay, so durability questions around AC, suspension, maybe clutch, maybe radiator fan. What about just using the car day to day? Any annoyances, ergonomics, features missing?
There are a few quirks. Rear visibility isn't great because the back window is quite small. Makes parking or even just pulling out of spots a bit tricky sometimes.
So I could see how that would be annoying. Anything else inside?
Minor thing, but the driver's window is auto down, but not auto up. You have to hold the button to close it fully. It's just one of those little things.
Yeah, those little things add up.
And for taller drivers, the seating position can be awkward. Even at the lowest setting, some find their head is too close to the roof, not comfortable, and might even affect how well you can see ahead.
That's a big one for comfort.
Also, in the manual version, the footrest next to the pedals is apparently positioned weirdly close to the brake pedal. Could be uncomfortable, maybe even confusing in a hurry.
Okay, what about the tech again? Any gaps there?
A big one for many drivers is the lack of real-time fuel consumption data on the main display. You can see mileage, but not your instant fuel economy. Makes it hard to drive efficiently.
Yeah, I rely on that. in my car. You want to know if you're being heavy-footed.
Exactly. And it's missing cruise control. That's pretty common now, lets you set a speed on the highway. No panoramic sunroof option either, which is popular in this segment.
And the AC. We mentioned reliability, but how well does it actually cool the whole car? Especially the back.
That's another point. While the main AC is okay, there are no dedicated vents for the third row. So cooling down those back seats, especially in hot weather or if you have a dark-colored car, can take a long time. The roof insulation might not be great either, contributing to that.
So potentially sweaty passengers in the very back. Not ideal for a 7-seater.
One more tiny infotainment quirk. The main screen doesn't show the time. You have to switch to the map screen just to see the clock. Bizarre.
That is odd. Okay, let's talk driving dynamics again, but focusing on the negatives this time. Fuel consumption. You touched on it.
Yeah. Owners often describe it as Boros-thirsty. Its consumption is often compared to bigger 2.0-liter cars, likely due to its weight. That catches people by surprise.
So it might cost less to buy, but more to run.
Potentially, yeah. And there's the geolitic issue, that engine knocking sound, especially if you use lower octane fuel like Pertalite. It suggests the engine is sensitive to fuel quality or maybe not burning fuel efficiently under certain conditions. Driving in sport mode sometimes helps, but it's not ideal.
Using more expensive fuel to avoid knocking. Another hidden cost. What about the turbo lag you mentioned earlier? How bad is it?
It's noticeable in the 1.5 turbo. That delay before the turbo kicks in, you really have to rev the engine, get the RPMs up, that's revolutions per minute, engine speed maybe to 2,000 or 3,000 RPM to feel the acceleration properly.
So it might feel sluggish pulling away from a stop unless you really push it.
Could feel that way, yeah. Especially compared to naturally aspirated engines or turbos with less lag.
And the ride. You said it was stable, but is it comfortable over bumps?
That's the trade-off. The suspension contributes to stability, but it can feel quite stiff over speed bumps or rough patches. Not the plushest ride.
And the steering.
Can feel too light at higher speeds, like over 120 kilometers. Some drivers don't like that lack of weight or feedback from the road. It makes parking easy, but it's not very engaging to drive fast.
Cabin noise. You said it was okay in the city.
But at highway speeds, wind and road noise become more apparent inside, so maybe not as quiet on long trips as you'd hope.
Finally, what about getting it serviced or finding parts? The after-sales experience.
The dealership network isn't huge. It's mostly concentrated in the bigger cities. So if you live outside those areas, getting official service might be inconvenient.
And parts availability.
General service parts seem affordable and easy enough to get. But some owners mention that slow-moving parts, less common things like maybe specific manual clutch components, might take longer to source or require more planning.
Okay, wow. That's a pretty significant list of potential downsides to weigh against the initial appeal. Depreciation, durability questions on key components like AC and suspension, ergonomic quirks, missing features, higher than expected fuel use, turbo lag, stiff ride, light steering, noise, and potentially limited service access.
It really paints a more complete, perhaps more sobering picture of long-term ownership. But it's not all doom and gloom. Knowing these things allows potential buyers to make informed decisions, and there are ways to manage some of these challenges.
All right, let's talk solutions or workarounds. How can owners get the best out of it, especially dealing with things like those inclines? You said it can do it well.
Absolutely. The key is often just knowing how to use the car's features correctly. It's not necessarily weak, just needs the right technique.
So for the automatic version on a steep hill, what's the trick?
Engage sport mode. Usually there's an S position on the gear selector. This instantly bumps up the engine's RPM, the revs giving you access to more torque.
Torque. Remind us again.
Torque is the engine's rotational force, its pulling power. You need torque for climbing hills. Sport mode keeps the engine in that stronger part of its power band.
Makes sense. Give it the power it needs. And for the manual.
Even simpler. Just shift down to a lower gear, like first or second. That does the same thing. Keeps the engine spinning faster where it makes more torque. Don't try to climb a steep hill in third or fourth gear.
Good basic advice for any manual car, really.
Hey.
Any other tricks for really tough inclines? Slippery ones.
For really extreme situations, like very steep and maybe slippery surfaces, sometimes temporarily turning off the traction control system, TC can help.
Turn off a safety system. Why?
TC works by cutting engine power or breaking a spinning wheel to stop wheel spin. Usually that's good, but on very slippery surfaces, sometimes you need a little bit of controlled wheel spin to dig in and find grip. Turning TC off allows that. Just remember to turn it back on afterwards.
Interesting tip. And fuel. Does using better fuel help on hills?
It can. If you know you'll be facing really challenging climbs, using a higher octane fuel like Pertamax or Pertamax Turbo might give you slightly better performance and help avoid that gelitic or knocking.
Okay, so driving technique helps. What about maintenance, especially given the potential component issues in the warranty?
Stick to the schedule religiously. Use the official DFSK workshops. This is crucial for keeping that long 7-year warranty valid. Owners who do this report having things like the AC compressor or radiator fan replaced under warranty without issue. Deviate from the official service, and you risk voiding it.
That warranty could be a lifesaver, given the potential issues. So, follow the book.
Exactly. And mentally, maybe financially, just be prepared. Be aware that things like shock absorbers or AC parts might need replacing after a couple of years, potentially outside the warranty period depending on what fails. Budgeting for that as part of the running cost might be wise.
Sort of factor it into the total cost of ownership calculation.
Precisely. And one last point, going back to that depreciation.
Yeah, that huge drop in value.
Because it depreciates so quickly from new, looking at the used market for a Glory 560 could actually be a really smart move. You might find a well-maintained, maybe 2- or 3-year-old car for significantly less than new, letting the first owner take that massive depreciation hit.
That's a great tip. You get the car's features and comfort, but at a much lower entry price, potentially offering much better overall value if you find a good one.
It could definitely work out that way. You just need to do your homework on the specific car's condition and service history.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've taken a really close look at the DFSK Glory 560. On one hand, you've got compelling initial value. It's genuinely comfortable, surprisingly roomy and versatile with those folding seats, and actually quite capable on hills if you know how to drive it.
But on the other hand, and this is crucial, you've got that very steep depreciation question marks over the long-term durability of important components, like the AC and suspension, some frustrating ergonomic choices and missing features, fuel consumption that's higher than you might expect, noticeable turbo lag, and a ride that can be firm. Plus, the potentially limited dealer network.
It's really about understanding both sides, isn't it? The attractive brochure promises versus the sometimes harsh realities of ownership. Knowing both the shine and the shadows is what makes you an informed buyer.
Exactly. You now have a much clearer picture, hopefully. You can weigh those benefits, the comfort, the space, the price against the potential drawbacks, the depreciation, the running costs, the possible repair bills down the line based on what you prioritize. It's not just about buying the car, it's about living with it.
So the big question for you, the listener, is, what does this all mean for your decision? When you think about value, is it just about that initial low sticker price?
Or is true value about knowing exactly what you're getting into, the good, the bad, and the potentially expensive from day 1 through year 5, especially those less glamorous bits like parts wearing out or resale value dropping?
It's time to think about your own priorities. Are those initial comforts and features enough to outweigh the potential downsides we've discussed? After hearing all this, what stands out to you as the most critical factor in the DFSK Glory 560 story?